Hey guys, welcome to Bowhunting Soul. Today I wanted to do a quick little video about my favorite multi-tool, certainly my favorite full-size multi-tool, and that is what's in this thing, which is the Leatherman Wave. I know what you're thinking. There's like 1,000 videos about the Leatherman Wave on the internet. I understand. Now, this isn't going to be a video of me out in the woods, hacking through stuff, cutting limbs, building fires, that kind of stuff. Although you could do all that with this. You gotta give it a shot. However, this is just going to be a video about why I like this thing and why I think it's a perfect full-size multi-tool. My favorite multi-tool that I use like 99% of the time actually is that Leatherman PS4 Squirt that I don't know, I'm pointing over there because it's in the drawer over there right now, that I carry with me all the time. And that one's so useful. But for a full-size multi-tool, this is kind of what I'm going to go through, and I'm going to give you reasons why I think it's the best. I think it's the best for not only in your car, in your household, but also in your camping and hunting packs. And I'm going to give you the reasons why for them. After I reset this up, I'm going to tip this camera back down. Hopefully my phone doesn't fall off this really chintzy holder, that it's on, because the rubber things are gone, and well, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm going to reset this up, and I'm going to go through all the features of this with you, and then tell you what I've actually used each one of these for in a real life situation. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've readjusted the camera a little bit. I was originally going to do it on the towel that you saw over here. But it's just not as good. I mean, either way, I'd rather it's going to be in my hand anyway, so you just get to see less of my beautiful face. All right, so the first thing you see on this thing is it's pretty compact. I'm not going to rattle off all the lengths and ounces and all that stuff that this thing comes in. I know there's, like I said, you just go to the website. This is by far, I think this is by far Leatherman's most popular multi-tool. At least in the full-size multi-tool. I don't know if they consider this one, because if there's a bigger one. There's a bigger version of this called a Surge, and I think that's like the duty size. Or I don't know. They change up their nomenclature all the time about what they call stuff. But this comes in a sheath, and it's Velcro. This is not the best sheath. The Velcro on here it kind of wears away really easily. This is a sheath that actually, this is one of my home ones. And the sheath is, kind of not worn away, but I mean, you use this thing all the time, no bueno, I mean, you can put it through your belt this way, or you can actually put it horizontal. You can do that. If you lift up these things here, and it kind of goes across that way. So if you want to have it sideways on your belt or on your pack or whatever, they actually sell a leather one with a snap on it, which is way better. So I would definitely go with that one. It's been a while since I bought one of these. I think they still offer those. They used to come with those. Now they come with these chintzy things. Not a fan, but if you're going to carry this in the field, make sure that this thing isn't worn out, okay? So you don't want this dropping out on you. So it comes pretty compact when it's like this. So first we're going to open it up, and we've got pliers. You got needle nose pliers, and again, it's kind of tough to tell, like I showed you with the Squirt. Here, I'll move my elbow out of the way, I don't know if you can focus on that. But they actually do come to a point. Now, you can't really use it as tweezers like you can with the other one, like I showed you, but it does a really, really good job. I think it's a great blend of kind of thicker jaws like lineman pliers, versus like needle nose. But they're not too thin. You're not gonna, within reason, you're not gonna snap these. If you're twisting wires together, if you're pulling, if you're just kind of grabbing something, pulling it out, it's great. It might work for like larger splinters. If you carry one of these, and I did that video on the Havalon knife. I'm gonna adjust this up a little more. You are gonna see more of my beautiful face. Here we go. Okay, so if you're gonna do like changing out the blades on that Havalon knife like I talked about, this is really good for it. You can do a lot of fine control with this thing. I'll move it into you can see it on the curtains a little bit better behind me. You can do a lot of fine control. You do have jaws in here, okay? So you could actually grip something. Those teeth are pretty good. And then you also have these cutters in there. You got two kind of cutters. You got this, what they call their wire cutter, hard wire cutter, which is the actual two little teeth that you see in there, okay? But they also have, kind of on the inside after you cut it, that little hole. Right there. See that little hole that opens up? Right in there, above my pinky there. So after you kind of use a wire stripper, which I'll show you, then you can just kind of pull the wire out, and that works fantastic. That works really, really good. It's not really for, that part really isn't for, you know, getting the sheathing and stripping the sheathing off the wires, at least cutting the sheathing and then stripping it, but you can actually, once you've cut it, you can use that to pull it out. So pliers, really good. They're not spring loaded. Some people don't like that. I don't really seem to mind. They, you know, they do their job. So they're pretty beefy. So that's basically it on, no, that's not basically it. I'm sorry. I am going to close it up though. I'm going to go to the outside. The ones you're probably going to use the most as far as an outdoorsman or even around the house or whatever, or camping, is you've got this really nice blade, okay? And it's a one hand, it's a liner lock. You push this thing in right there, and it just, you know, closes, opens back up. That's a really nice, usable, pretty beefy blade. I can't remember the length. That's like what, 2.5, 3 inches, something like that. But it's got a really nice, long, usable profile. It's sharp. It's easy to keep sharp and sharpen. It's great. On the other side, you've got a serrated blade. Now, a serrated blade is not a saw. Okay, there's a lot of knives out there, and there's a lot of multi-tools. They call this a saw. A saw, which I will show you in a second here, that one also has teeth that actually, if you're looking down, teeth actually are like, they're wider than the blade of the saw. It cuts what's called a kerf, right? Which is basically like a path. Think of like a snowplow going through the snow, so that the car behind it can actually fit through it. Well, the kerf, like I said, is wider than the thickness of the blade. So like the teeth cut a wider path and the blade follows down. That's why you can like actually cut through things without a binding. A serrated blade, I mean, this is good for rope. This is good for rough cutting. I'm not a huge fan of serrated blades. This is kind of like, if I'm going to do anything, like if I'm going to do like a flint steel, you know, kind of thing, and I have one of these blades, I'm going to sacrifice this blade. I'm not super, you really can't cut bone with this. You really can't cut, you know, it's good for cutting hide maybe, or cutting, you know, whatever. But anyway, it's got one on there. It does have an actual saw, which is a great saw. Now, it's not super thick, okay? If you look at that. So you can, I mean, it's a little bit bendy, not again, within reason. And if you take your time and you're not twisting and doing one of these, you're not going to snap this off. It is hard to tell, but if you look at the teeth on this thing, it is wider than the thickness of the blade. Again, you're not going to, of course, it doesn't show that on the camera, but this will, if you're going to saw through limbs, let's say you're making a ground blind, or you're clearing trees for a shooting path, or you're making a campfire, you know, what have you. This thing works really, really good. You know, you can saw away anything as big as you want, but I mean, you know, stuff that's like the size of your thumb, or even twice the size of your thumb, this thing zips through it right away. You just got to have long, even strokes. Take your time, don't force it. The teeth are just aggressive enough that it cuts really well. It doesn't bind. It cuts, they do cut in both directions, actually, and they don't gum up really well with, you know, with gum and stuff like that in the, when you're cutting like green wood. And it's also got a very usable file. I use this all the time. One side is, if you can see the teeth on there, like that, and the other side is actually this, it's really, really fine. It's almost like a ceramic file would be. And this is really good for touching up broadheads. You know, this side over here, the teeth side, is good for, you know, anything you need to file down, whether you're, you know, putting a point on a piece of metal or whatever. But this side is actually really smooth until you use, you know, you could sharpen a blade with it, you could sharpen a broadhead with it. Works really well. And by the way, the edge of this is also also has teeth. So if you're going to cut into metal a little bit and notch things, you can actually do it with this, and you can just kind of notch down into it. It's kind of like what the saw would be. Of course, you're not putting the whole blade through it, but you can actually put notches and things. So that's really good. And the cool thing, by the way, is if you notice on here, see those little teeth on there? There's little, it's not knurled, I guess, but jimping is what it'll be called. These little notches. It's kind of sensory, so you know that when you have that in your hand, that is a serrated blade. You don't even have to think about it. And on the other side is smooth. And that is the smooth blade. That is the, what I call the real blade, okay? I really don't have much love or anything for serrated knives. Okay, so we open it up, and we got a bunch of stuff on the inside. Some stuff you'd expect, some stuff you wouldn't expect. Let's see, on the one side here, we've got a flathead screwdriver, okay, which is, you know, this is a non-replaceable one. It's just a screwdriver, nothing fancy. Kind of longer, I believe that's 3/16. Oh no, that's quarter inch. That's quarter inch. These all lock, by the way. They have a little locking mechanism back here. We've got scissors. Again, these aren't gigantic scissors. They're just enough to be useful. You can trim your beard, nose hairs, I don't know, loose clothing, string, that kind of stuff. Some people use them to cut zip ties. Don't use them to cut zip ties. Zip ties are very, very difficult, and they actually like force the blades away and put a lot of slop, you know, into this thing. So don't do that. Don't cut zip ties with these. But you know, they're pretty usable. I don't use scissors for a whole lot of things, but when you need them, they're there. One of the things that I'm really not so sure about, even as a glasses wearer myself, is they have this attachment here where it is. This comes out. It's really small. Phone won't focus on it. But one end is a flathead, and the other end is a really, really, really tiny Phillips. And that's for the screws on your glasses. And that fits into this little holder right here. Just kind of in there. Just kind of clicks in there. Sometimes this is really good for like a punch. Or, you know, if you need to, I've actually used this. Sometimes it's deep enough, sometimes not. I've actually used this, you know, on doorknobs where, you know, it locks on one side. You've got the hole on the other side with the long Allen key that, you know, you push to unlock the door when your kid locks, you know, themselves in somewhere. Well, sometimes this isn't long enough. Depends on the door. They usually need to be a little bit longer, but I've used it for that. And I've used it for, you know, just general, like poking into things or prying or, you know, digging lint out or somewhere. You know, you don't necessarily have to. I don't think I've ever actually used it on eyeglasses, but it's there. It's one of those tools where I probably wouldn't put it on there if it was up to me. I'd probably eliminate that and make this whole thing a little bit thinner. But anyway, that's on the one side. You've also got like a scale over here, inches, millimeters, and I think when this thing is all open, it is, let's see, 7 inches, I think, all across, like this, you know, from here to here. It comes in sometimes useful. I don't really use it for, you know, I've used it here and there for just for like measuring like odd little things, but it's kind of like a nice to have. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just kind of like, you know, cut into this. So the other side has some other pretty useful stuff. It has, let's see, two useful things. We got one over here, which is the can opener. You can also use it as a bottle opener. Okay, I know it's going to cut into it, but it's okay. It'll still lift the bottle cap. I think they call them cap lifters nowadays. I don't know when bottle opener decided to change names and call it a fancy cap lifter, but it's a bottle opener. But this is a can opener. It's, you know, it's beveled. It's sharp enough over here so that if you're going to cut into, you know, cans, most cans nowadays have like the little peel tab on there, but you know, a lot of them don't, and then you got to just kind of, you know, work your way around. It does work. It takes a while to go around, but it works really well. It also has this little V notch in here. I'll show you it on this side. You can see that it is actually beveled and sharp on one side. It's cut right there, this V notch. That V notch is actually what you use as a wire stripper. You put the wire through there, and then, you know, you can either, you know, kind of work it around sideways, or you can actually kind of do one of these and trap the wire in here, and then, you know, by holding on to this and the wire through here, do your little twisting to cut the sheathing, and then you can, you know, strip it off. So that actually works. So that's a good kind of 3-in-1 tool: bottle opener, can opener, and wire stripper. And then the other one is the replaceable adapter over here. So this is what they call, what you would, you know, I guess the EDC world or whatever calls, or multi-tool world calls a two-dimensional Phillips bit. It's a Phillips bit, but it's not, you know, it's got all the sides to it, but it's not, you know, like two sides are longer than the other two sides. You can see that if you can focus on there. And you know what? It works pretty good. And on the other side is a 3/16 flathead. Okay, they work really well. They do have these little notches right here in the middle. I don't know if you could see that. Again, I have a hard time focusing on, so here and here. So it's supposed to click in here, and it's spring loaded inside, and it's supposed to click into place and not really come out. The notches aren't very deep, and it's not really locking. So they it's to keep it from falling out. But just be careful if you like shove this in somewhere. Let's like a deeper hole, which you probably can't get into, because if you're putting this in, usually this, you know, the hole for the screw that actually goes into, you're not going to get this whole adapter down into there and get it stuck, right? You're pretty much limited to like that much distance. But you know, you don't want to have this, you know, pull this out and then have this stuck down in some, you know, crevice or whatever that you're trying to get a screw out of, and then now this thing's stuck down there, and you're gonna, you know. So anyway, it's easy to flip around, just pulls out, flip around. These are replaceable. They have, you know, they have different sizes. I really like this one because, again, it flips the Phillips and the flathead. And I've never really found a problem with this two-dimensional Phillips. You're not putting that much torque that you really need, you know, all four sides equal on the Phillips, and then, you know, giving the right torque. This thing works just, you know, it works really, really good. I've never really found a problem with it, but I'm not busting like, you know, rusted on, you know, bolts and stuff that are like way too big for it, and, you know, you're not going to get them loose with something like this anyway. So anyway, so there's the Wave. I mean, that's pretty much it. A lot of people say this has everything most people need and nothing they don't. Of course, everyone's got opinions. Some people don't like, you know, the eyeglass thing. I'm not a big, it can go away. It can be something else. I'm not a big fan of the serrated knife. I don't think it needs to be there. I think it's overkill if you've got all the other stuff. But some people don't like saws, and some people don't like the scissors. So anyway, this is it. It's not the lightest thing in the world. That's why, you know, this isn't really a clip on your pocket kind of thing. The aftermarket will sell. Actually, no. I believe Leatherman actually sells a clip that goes on here. And it clips to, I can't remember, it's, oh, there's actually like a hidden, right in here, I can't dig it out right now, it's in one of these, there's actually like a little hidden lanyard. It's like a little lanyard piece that comes out, and well, I can't dig it out of there right now. You can look that up. But it's just like a little piece that just comes out, and it's like a little lanyard hole, you know, so that if you want to clip you know, just a paracord or something like that, or, you know, and hook that onto a carabiner or something like that, you can dangle that. Now, the company itself, like I said, sells a clip, and I think it goes in right here above in that little slot, and it kind of goes like, you know, over. Now, if you're going to carry this in your pocket, it's not overly heavy. You can if you wanted to. But the problem with that is you don't carry it this way, right? So that these kind of, you know, naturally want to just kind of stay closed. The way, it's kind of like an afterthought, I think, when they did it, is it hangs this way. Now, if this gets loose, and it might get loose over time, or it's banging in your pocket like this, walking around, look what happens. It opens. I mean, the clip is here, but this is trying to open in your pocket because, you know, gravity's trying to pull it this way. Not the best design. They say, you know, if these are tight enough, everything's tight enough that it shouldn't do that. Well, stuff happens in your pocket. You're moving around all, I mean, you know that. Anybody that's ever carried a knife or anything like that in their pocket knows that, you know, things move around, things shift around, and this kind of banging around like this all day, especially if it's a little looser. This one's kind of tighter. You know, we'll kind of do one of these and it's annoying. Okay, and the farther it gets, the more leverage it gets, obviously, and then it just does one of these. So I don't really carry this in my pocket. There are aftermarket kind of stick-on clips that you can use. However, those clips that you can use, they're not, remember, this is a usable blade right here, right? See that? So you can't actually like put anything over here. Night Eyes, I believe, sells some, and I've put them on other multi-tools that don't have that. But you wouldn't even be able to start that clip until like here. You'd have like all this much section sticking out of your pocket. Not really good. So this is really, I mean, I'll put it in the sheath, and you're pretty much stuck to the sheath. And then, like I said, this one resides in my nightstand. I've got a similar one in the car, and I've got an exact same one in my hunting pack. And it's actually it's part of that Kuiu Icon Pro, and it's actually on the hip belt where you can attach a whole bunch of things. And this just pretty much stays on the hip belt, and it rides around all day. It's stainless. Doesn't mean that it will not stain. It's stainless, not stain proof. So you do have to clean this if it's outside in the weather and all that stuff. You know, get all the gunk off of there. If you happen to gut a deer with this thing, not really recommended with any kind of folding knife, because look at all the nooks and crannies and thing in there. I mean, you're going to get tallow, hair, meat, you know, all kinds of little chunks and stuff in there. Not necessarily knock on this particular. It's just these kind of like folding knives get all that kind of stuff in there. That's why a fixed blade knife for that kind of stuff is really good. But as far as like having like an outdoor knife that can pretty much handle anything you want to handle, you know, including gutting and quartering a deer, and if you had to with this, and making, clearing lanes, or making camp, or making a campfire, or fixing things, or whatever it is, this is probably going to be it. I'm going to leave a link, an Amazon link below, if you want to check one of these out yourself. This, again, is their most popular selling multi-tool of all time. I think everyone should own this, even if you don't want to carry this. It's not the lightest thing. If you don't want to carry this thing around every day, or you don't want to, put it in your pack, put it in your hunting pack, or at the very least, keep one in your car or in your house, because it is so useful. So, yeah, if you like that, click on the link below. You guys can check it out yourselves. Visit us on Bowhunting Soul Facebook page, Facebook group and page, by the way. Join the group. And check out our merchandise stuff at www.stickshirts.com. That has lots of cool shirts. I'm not wearing one. I'm actually representing the Footed Shaft from Minnesota today. They're down in Rochester. Great people to deal with. So give them a look too. They sell all kinds of really cool stuff. So anyway, let me know your comments on your favorite multi-tool, and if you can actually carry one of these, or you use one of these regularly, or to get yourself out of a jam. So, and like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.